He was holding a piece of paper, and immediately I was thinking, okay, this probably isn't good. And he said, "Ma'am, I am really sorry to tell you, but you have breast cancer." My life was about to change forever. My story is in your hands. God, please just help me through this. There are certain pivotal moments in your life where you can remember exactly where you were, what the room looked like, and what it felt like to be you before you heard the words that changed everything. The moment splits your life into a before and after. For me, that day was November 19th, 2023. I had just found out I had breast cancer and it had already spread. My life was about to change forever. Right before I went into urgent care and I found this news out, I was just at the nail salon near my house getting my nails painted, getting ready to celebrate my birthday in a week. I was ignoring the lump in my armpit for a while, but this particular day it started to feel bigger and it started to hurt a little bit. I was thinking, you know what? I'm just gonna go into the urgent care and it might just be an enlarged lymph node or an infection. I'll just start some antibiotics and I'll be done before my birthday so I can really celebrate. Wow, how wrong was I? After I got my nails done, I drove to the nearby urgent care. It was raining that day and it was a Sunday. It was just an ordinary, normal day. I just got my nails done and I was honestly looking forward to my birthday. The reason I went to a nearby urgent care was because it was a Sunday and so doctors' offices were closed. I didn't even have a regular primary care doctor yet because we had just moved to Texas from California 2 years prior. The doctor I still did have in LA had recently done a blood test on me and all my blood levels were normal. It just wasn't a priority for me to find an in-person doctor in Texas yet. So I walked into the urgent care, I sat down in the chair and he asked me what my concerns were. I just said, "Oh, I have this lump in my armpit and it's starting to bother me now. I'm not really sure what it is." And he looked at me a little bit concerned and he said, "You know what? I want you to do a CT scan." And so I was like, okay, I'll do a CT scan. It's my first time ever having a CT scan. And I still really thought it was nothing. I went back to the waiting room after the scan. I waited about 20 minutes and then I'll never forget the look of shock and horror that came off the doctor's face when he walked back into the room to see me. He was holding a piece of paper and immediately I was thinking, okay, this probably isn't good because the doctor just left the room and now he's holding a piece of paper. And he said, "Ma'am, I am really sorry to tell you, but you have breast cancer." I thought he was joking, and at that moment, I think my mind and my body just started going into shock, and I just felt like it wasn't real. Like I was having an out-of-body experience, and I was also thinking about my 2 children at the time, and we were also expecting our 3rd child, a baby boy, who was actually being carried by a surrogate. And so I was thinking, oh my gosh, this cannot be happening to me right now. And I asked him, I'm like, "Are you joking? How old are you?" I don't know why I asked the doctor how old he was. My mind just wasn't processing it. And he was like, I think he was like 55. He's like, "I'm 55, ma'am. And I'm not joking. I'm really sorry to tell you, but you have breast cancer and I think it spread into your lymph node as well as your liver. I need to get you into a hospital immediately." And at that moment, I just was like, okay, I'm sorry. I apologized and I was like, "Can I please just use your restroom?" And then I just went to the restroom and I just started crying and kind of like hyperventilating a little bit. And I think I was having a full-blown panic attack in the doctor's office, and I think the nurses could hear me as well. And I called Eric, my husband, and I was like, "Eric, please come to the ER right now. I have cancer." And he was like, "Oh my God, I'm going to be there right away." And he asked me if there's anything I need. And I was like, "Can you please bring me McDonald's?" I don't know why I wanted McDonald's. I wanted French fries and a Diet Coke. In that moment, I was panicking and it just sounded like comfort food. I don't know, I was craving it. Eric got there with the McDonald's and Diet Coke and it was the best French fries I've ever had. And I honestly thank God for that doctor because he really took my concerns seriously. I brushed it off, honestly, but he felt the lump in my armpit and he wanted me to do a scan. And I just really wish that in healthcare we had more doctors and healthcare workers like him. He was really great. He then told me he was going to get me a hospital bed, which apparently is not always easy to get because hospitals are full. So he called around to all the different hospitals in the area. He got me into one near me. And then I was placed in the cancer ward. That night, I had a really sweet woman who was a chaplain come in to visit me, and she had her Bible with me, and she was like, "Can I pray for you? "Do you know Jesus?" I was very comforted by her, but at the same time, I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm actually dying now. Like, I have a chaplain visiting me, like asking me if I know the Lord. Like, oh wow, this is really happening. Like, but I was still going into shock a little bit. Like, it still felt kind of surreal. The nurses that were there in the hospital who took their shifts really were amazing. They were so warm and caring, and they took great care of me. The next morning, I had to go in for what was a liver biopsy because they saw that the cancer had unfortunately spread to my liver in several places. They wanted to do that to check if it was in fact the same breast cancer that happened in my left breast. And so I did that the next day. I was on a lot of different pain medications, and the whole hospital stay was a little bit of a whirlwind, and I was so scared, but I was also out of it because I was on different pain medications. After the liver biopsy, I think it was the next day, I had to do a bone scan and then a brain MRI just to see if the cancer had spread to my brain and my bones. I'll never forget the look on the nurses' faces when they told me that the cancer didn't spread to my brain and my bones. They were so happy, and obviously I was very relieved about that. I was happy, but I was experiencing so many emotions during that time. I was scared. I was feeling like it was still a shock, but I was also relieved. The oncologist on call, I'm not going to say her name, but she was assigned to me from the hospital because she was working at the same time that I was admitted. But she wasn't a breast cancer specialist, so that wasn't her field of expertise. Getting paired with that doctor turned out to be not a great thing for me, but we'll get into that. I went home after a few days in the hospital while I waited for the results. I had to wait like a week to find out what kind of breast cancer it was. And I was really trying to be a good mom during this time to my 2 kids, but I felt so afraid and scared. And I didn't exactly know what to tell my kids. I did tell my oldest son, Elijah, that I had cancer, but I didn't tell him to the extent of how bad it was. I didn't tell him that it was stage 4. And my daughter, Elodie, was only 4 years old at the time. So I didn't tell her that I had, the word cancer. I just said, oh, mommy's a little bit sick right now. I have to go to the hospital. That's what I told her. And she was fine with that. I was just trying to keep everything going and normal at home. While I'm trying to be a good mom for the kids, I'm also researching all the different types of breast cancers, which there are so many. What's the average survival rate of them? And honestly, don't do that at nighttime. That was causing a lot of sleepless nights. And I was just really overwhelmed. I couldn't believe how many different subtypes of breast cancers there were. And I was just really worried because I'm like, which one am I going to get? I was really scared. But I was trying to just keep everything afloat and normal for my kids at home. All of a sudden, I'm having to navigate this whole new world of medical jargon and medical terms that I just do not understand. I don't have a medical degree, and I'm not in that field at all, and it was really overwhelming. I was just thrust into this whole new world. Emotionally, the whole thing, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, it was just overwhelming. After what felt like forever waiting for the results, we had an appointment at that first oncologist's office, and my mom and my husband came with me. It was the day she was going to tell me what type of breast cancer I had. I remember it felt to me like I was going in to see a judge who would give me a verdict on my life. I know God is the ultimate judge, but it felt like, I don't know, like she was like a judge and she was going to give me a verdict kind of feeling, and I just felt so powerless. I'm absolutely terrified. She said, Nicole, I have some bad news for you. It looks like you have what's called triple negative breast cancer. Unfortunately for us oncologists, this type of breast cancer is one of the hardest ones to treat because... And then she went into the scientific explanation using her hands, explaining how the cells for triple negative are harder to penetrate with the different types of medicine. She was just very matter of fact with it, but she was explaining how she wanted me to do the standard chemo that treated triple negative. And even though I was scared, I was totally on board. I was like, let's do this. Let's do the chemo. I want to start eradicating the cancer from my body. Meanwhile, my mom was not entirely impressed with this doctor, and so she starts looking into a second opinion for me on the side. I also hear from my community, I have other breast cancer warriors in my community who are telling me just how important it is to get a second opinion. So this is the first time in my life I'm ever hearing this kind of language, and so I'm really listening and I'm thinking, okay, I really should do this, and then my mom's telling me to do that as well. So I was like, okay, I'm open to getting a second opinion, for sure. And one thing I've learned through this whole journey is that every cancer patient is so incredibly different. Our biology is completely unique, and our age is a big factor. It has a lot to do with it. And no one's experience, I think, is the exact same. There's a lot of different factors that go into play in being a cancer survivor. So I waited to get that second opinion. I waited to start the chemo while we looked into the other oncologist for me. Meanwhile, it's now been about, I think, a month since I was first diagnosed, and I was diagnosed right before Thanksgiving, and now it's around the holidays. It's Christmas comes and goes, and I did try to make the holidays magical and fun for my kids, and we had a couple Christmas trees, and I just tried to make it really fun and magical. And we also had my extended family visit us, and that was really special to me. But it was hard because all the doctor's offices were shut down during this time because of the holidays. And so I was really waiting to get into another doctor. And I started to have side effects from the cancer spreading. One thing about cancer that's so scary is you can look completely fine on the outside. I even did a branding photo shoot. I felt great. I felt energetic. I looked normal. And then it was a week later, I found out I had stage 4 cancer. And it's also scary because I had just done blood work that showed my hormone levels were great. My thyroid, estrogen, everything was great. Cancer didn't show up in my blood work at all. So while I'm waiting to get in to see the doctor, I'm feeling side effects. The cancer is spreading in my body. The lump in my armpit is getting larger. And I'm starting to get really weak and really scared. One of my sisters is in the medical world. She starts sending me all of these medical scientific papers about different types of breast cancer and really starting to educate me. And my mom also really starts helping me to be my health advocate during this time. And to this day, I'm so grateful that she helped me so much with that. She makes my doctor's appointments, navigates the new online portal for me, and she starts researching other oncologists. And she finds a world-renowned breast cancer specialist named Dr. Joyce O'Shaughnessy, who is my current oncologist to this day, and I'm so grateful for. She calls her office and begs her to see me. She says, "My daughter is only 38 years old. She has 2 children and a baby on the way. She was just diagnosed with stage 4 triple-negative breast cancer. Can you please see her?" And so my oncologist says, absolutely, I want to see Nicole. I want to see how I can help her. And so we have an appointment with her. So it was right after the holidays. Meanwhile, this is 6 weeks after I find out I have stage 4 cancer, and I've not done any chemo yet. It was really scary because the side effects were really starting to kick in. The lump in my armpit was a lot larger. My liver enzymes were getting messed up. My skin started to turn more yellow. My eyes were yellow. I was feeling extremely fatigued and weak. And I really felt, oh my gosh, my body is breaking down. My body feels like it's dying now. I can really feel the cancer is taking over my body now. I really need to get treatment. It just took time because also Dr. Joyce O'Shaughnessy, she wanted me to do a clinical trial, which I didn't at first really want to do because to me it just sounded so risky and not proven yet. I just wanted to do the chemo that was standard. But in order to even qualify for the clinical trial, which was I think called the Begonia trial, she said, we need to do another biopsy of your left breast where the cancer originally started to see if it has the biology needed for this specific trial. And so I did another biopsy. I was in excruciating pain getting that breast biopsy because they're sticking a needle in your tissues and they're getting tissue out and it hurts really bad. So back to waiting another 4 or 5 days for the pathology to come back. At this point, I can really feel my body start to break down because I haven't started any kind of chemo yet, no treatment, and I just want to start something. I'm just getting so anxious about this. And meanwhile, I'm just still trying to live my life, be a mom, show up in all areas of my life, and it was getting really hard. About 4 days later, I get a call from my mom who sounded absolutely overjoyed. And she was like, Nicole, oh my gosh, I have such good news to tell you. First, I want to tell you, I stopped into this little store and I saw this little prayer rock that says, God still performs miracles. And so she's like, I had to get that for you. And then she said it matched what she was about to tell me. And I was like, what? What's good news? Tell me the good news, please. She said that the second pathologist found out that I had a completely different type of breast cancer than we all originally thought and what the previous doctor thought. she said, "You don't have triple negative, you have HER2 positive." And she sounded so happy. I was like, okay, that's great, but what does that mean? Because I still, I'm not a medical expert. I don't really know what these things mean. She was explaining how with HER2 positive patients, it's now one of the more treatable types of breast cancers, and there's more options for HER2 positive patients. And so I was like, that's great news. Like I'm all for it, but I just want to start treatment. So I went back in to see Dr. O'Shaughnessy, and Dr. O'Shaughnessy was very happy as well. And she was like, I am so happy to tell you that you're HER2 positive. I have many patients who I've seen for over 20 years who are doing great on their treatment. And she's like, this is really good news for you, Nicole. You should be really happy about this. So I was very happy about this. But I was also kind of mad that like I had the wrong diagnosis at first, because I almost did the whole wrong chemo, which honestly I think might have killed me because it treated the wrong cancer. So that was really scary. I was like, okay, I just want to start treatment. Let's go. I was never one of those people that was like against cancer treatment, that wanted to do things holistically, which more power to people like that. But for me, I wanted to take all the medicine, all the harsh things to just eradicate the cancer in my body. I started praying. I mean, I prayed from the very beginning. I prayed to God that the medicine would work. I was like, you know what? I felt powerless. I was like, God, you're in control of this. My story is in your hands. God, like, please just help me through this. I almost did the wrong chemo to target the wrong type of breast cancer. And I'm so thankful to God that I waited and got a second opinion and went with another doctor who did a second biopsy and discovered that I had a completely different type of cancer. That decision in getting that second opinion and doing the correct treatment, I think honestly saved my life. And I'm also thankful to my mom for encouraging me to wait and to get a second opinion. I'm grateful to the breast cancer survivors in my community who also told me that. I'll always be grateful to that. So if you're watching right now and you are a breast cancer survivor and you're feeling like you're not sure about the care you're receiving, or you have questions, or you don't feel right, definitely get a second opinion. Like I really recommend that, because I do think it saved my life. I also want to mention, during this time, I was posting updates on my Instagram, and I was asking my community to pray for me. And I was giving updates about what I was going through. They weren't like long videos, because I honestly didn't have the emotional bandwidth to do that, but they were just like photo updates, like text updates. That's all I could really do at the time. But to me, documenting that time was really therapeutic for me. It was kind of a way for me to express my feelings, and it was like a digital diary for me in a way. It was very therapeutic. And I really do think the prayers helped me. If you're going through a hard time right now, I would honestly journal it. You don't have to necessarily post it on social media if that's not your thing, but there's power in journaling your thoughts, because there's something to just getting it out of your mind, getting it onto paper, getting it onto your notepad. It frees up your mind and it gives you an emotional outlet. And that really helped me during that time. Early on, right when I found out I had cancer, I told myself that I still wanted to show up looking like myself as much as possible. I know that might sound silly, but I felt like if I looked put together, it made me feel like a little bit less scared. And it made me feel like if I look okay on the outside, like if I have lipstick on, a little makeup on, I can fight harder on the inside, and it'll help my mindset as well. So I'm gonna put makeup on when I go to chemo. I'm gonna put the lipstick on, and if I lose my hair, I'm gonna get a wig. And I did get a wig. That was one of the things I got early on as a wig, because I was like, I have to have my long hair. Like I just have to. So I got a good wig. Kind of gave me a sense of protection in a way. It was like my armor, but it made me feel more like myself. So I felt like if I could look more like myself on the outside, I could fight harder on the inside. I had to do a total of 8 chemo sessions, and it was brutal on my body. I gained about 20 pounds of water weight, and I didn't even really recognize myself during this time. I looked extremely bloated, and I felt so tired and lethargic, but I pushed through. I prayed and I stayed positive. I kept fighting. I honestly had no other choice. One huge victory that happened was after I completed chemo, the following month, my oncologist wanted me to do a PET scan to see if there was any remaining cancer left. So I did that, and she was absolutely amazed that after the chemo sessions, I think it was like only 3 chemo sessions, she said, "Oh my gosh, Nicole, You had a complete response to treatment. There's no cancer found in your liver anymore, no cancer at all in your body. And obviously it was like the best gift I could have ever heard. I was so happy. And it was also perfect timing because our surrogate was carrying our third child and our precious baby boy Luke. And the timing worked out where my last chemo treatment was right before we welcomed him into our family, and his birthday was in May, so I finished right before that. So the timing was just perfect, and I was like, thank God, like this is a miracle. So I was so happy. We welcomed Luke, and that was such a magical time. So now I had 3 kids at home, but I had to still fight the cancer. So after I completed chemo, and now with 3 children at home and a brand new baby, up on the fighting cancer to-do list was a lumpectomy. At first, when I met with the breast surgeon, she was like, so do you want to do a mastectomy? And at first I was like, no, I don't want to just do such a big surgery when I didn't have any cancer on my right side. It was only on my left side. So I chose to do a lumpectomy, and she said that was a perfectly safe and okay option for me. So that's what I did. That surgery was actually not as bad as I thought, which thank God, that surgery went a lot easier than I thought. It was easier than chemo. After chemo and the lumpectomy, next up was radiation. And wow, I had absolutely no idea what I was about to get into with radiation. I had to do a total of 33 radiation sessions. And if I thought chemo was hard, radiation was way harder. My skin got so incredibly burned and tender by about the 12th treatment. It was extremely painful. And I started to have a lot of restricted movement on my left side. And I was lathering up that side with so much lotion, and I couldn't fall asleep at night. I was struggling with insomnia, and it was really hard time in my life. I was sleeping in because I wasn't getting sleep at night. My skin was so burned, and it was hard because the schedule of radiation as well is like you have to go every single day. Whereas chemo, I would have a 3-week break. But radiation, it was just so tough. It was definitely one of the hardest things in the cancer treatment protocol. To this day, I still have a lot of side effects from it. This side of my body is a little bit more tan, and I'm in physical therapy to get my range of motion back on this side. And sometimes it's hard to fall asleep because, I don't know, I have pains on this side. So, radiation, in my opinion, was just extremely challenging. After radiation was over, it honestly felt like the best day of my life. I cried outside the building with my husband, and I was like, I can't believe I just completed that. That was the most challenging thing ever. And they gave me a certificate for completing it, and I just felt so relieved. After the radiation, next up was immunotherapy, and it's the shot that I'm still on to this day. It's called Phesgo, and I'm just so thankful it exists because it contains 2 different drugs in it that treat the HER2 protein on the cancer cell that my body made too much of. And I'm just so thankful Phesgo exists for breast cancer patients like me. Before I was diagnosed with cancer, I worried about such small, trivial things. I honestly can't even believe it now. I also had plans and things I wanted to do, but I just kept putting them off because I thought I had unlimited time and I could just do it another day. But honestly, after surviving cancer, I realize what a gift and time each day truly is. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it's really true. It's just such a gift. I wish I could tell you that surviving cancer made me completely fearless, but I still get scared. I still get scared when I have to do scans, which is all the time. Every 3 months, every 6 months, I'm doing scans. So I'm still scared. I was scared to launch this podcast. I still feel fear, but how cancer did change me was it kind of gave me a sense of urgency in a way where I didn't have that urgency really before. It grew my faith in a much deeper way, and it also grew my heart. I have a lot more compassion for people and people with serious illness. I had a complete response to treatment, and no evidence has been found of cancer. And honestly, not a day goes by that I don't realize how lucky and how fortunate I am for that. And I thank God every single day that He used the right doctors and the right medicine and the power of prayer to help me be in remission. And God can do anything. Dealing with cancer took a lot away from me, and I now have more physical scars on my body, and I'm still healing. But through my fight, I realized that I could only focus on the things I really could control, which were simple, easy things like putting lipstick on, to help me show up during the day more like myself, praying and giving it to God, leaning on others for help. I really leaned on as many people as I could during that time, and I'm really grateful to my family members and the people that helped me. And honestly, just taking it one day at a time. That's all you can really do if you're going through a hard time. My mom's persistence helped me get to the right oncologist, and a second biopsy gave me a different diagnosis. The right diagnosis led to the right treatment, and that second opinion may have changed the course of my life and saved my life, and I really think it did. Dealing with cancer changed so much about my life, but it also opened up my eyes and heart to what truly deserves my time and energy and what matters long term. God gave me the gift of a second chance, and I don't intend to waste it.